Welcome, everybody. Welcome. We're back at it, like a crack at it. Crack addict. Oh, goodness. English is Englishing over there. But yeah, man, I think it's about being clear. It's about speaking, it's about knowing just how to articulate yourself so well. But with me to even think about saying back at it like a crack addict, it's like the consistency coming back to these readings every single day. It has taught me so much about commitment. It has taught me so much about myself. Making decisions, and I appreciate it. So yeah, before we get into today's message, I just want to thank you all as well. For being here with me. I just want to thank myself. For sticking with the mission, for being disciplined, and just seeing it through. But as always, greetings, old tribe. Thank you for being the vibe. It's your host doing the most, G3E, the one and only, none other. Welcome to another one, DJ Khaled. Welcome to another episode of the Daily Spread, where we take the journey within, and on this path we are led, man. We got another one. Thank you, God, our angels, guardians, and ancestors, and all beings wishing us well. May this message be swell, and in the highest vibration of love we dwell. Yeah, man. We live in love. Love leads. We let love lead. They'll say that it's triple L, but we're turning our L's into W's. There's this song I like by Fabulous, and he's speaking about, there's this line where he's like, it's Snooze, actually. That's the name of the song, Snooze by Fabulous. He's like, staying at the W because L's don't get dwelled on. Guys, even when we experience losses, even when we experience setbacks, we don't dwell on those things, because we review those things and we turn them into our W's. We turn them into our wins, into our success stories. But yeah, today, I'm back with another toolkit kind of a message. From the title, you'll definitely see that it's, again, we're going by the rule of three. 3 questions to help you decide on taking action. I'm being led back to how I started this thing, back at it like a crack addict. If somebody's addicted to something, they're clearly taking the action to follow through with their addiction. They're following through with what's easy, making a choice to scratch the itch, to, chase the high. And, I understand that, there's a lot of things that we might all be addicted to. We might even be lazy. You might be addicted to procrastination, not necessarily like drugs or crack in this case. I don't even know if YouTube is gonna like censor that or what. But anyways, let's just say people are addicted to drugs. People are addicted to validation. People are addicted to, things that are outside of ourselves that do serve us. But it's a question of, does this thing actually do what's best for us? So, even if it's not addiction, sometimes it's habits, sometimes it's behaviors. There are things that we do that ultimately require us to take action. Even doing something for yourself, taking this journey within, it requires you to take action. And sometimes we're making hard choices, not now if you like looking at it, positive, negative, up, down, left, right, as within, so without. We all dichotomies are being explored here. I mean, sometimes you want to do something amazing. You want to make a new investment. You want to propose to your partner. You want to book a trip. And whatever choice it is, this toolkit, or this, these questions that I'm going to give to you are very beautiful in helping us decide what actions and choices we need to take, and if we should be taking them. So I call this like a decision-making toolkit ultimately. If you need some clarity, if you need, to disseminate the facts ultimately, if you like stuck between a rock and a hard place and you're looking to clear the debris, to, just cut through the noise ultimately, cut through the nonsense, and just be very direct and be very stern with your decision. I find that these questions have helped me make a lot of decisions, and they've actually saved me as well. Of course, we praise the Most High. God saves us. Jesus saves. Yo, I'm even seeing how there's like a sticker on somebody's car right now with like that Jesus saves. But they've also given us tools. They've also given us you know, power and sound mind, right? So we have to apply that. We have to put it to work, especially in situations that require us to act, because action means act, you know. Sometimes you have to act very quickly. So the one thing that I'll tell you before I get into these 3 questions that you have to ask yourself to make a decision on basically anything. And that's what I love about these toolkits that I'm sharing with you guys, is that they apply to every part of our lives. Good decision, bad decision, whatever you want to call it, right? You're making a decision. Because I always say the fall of man is indecisiveness. So step back into your power. Don't give your power away. Call back your power and put it to effect, put it to use. So, yes, before I get too distracted, the rule here is that you must answer yes to all 3 questions. Otherwise, it's a no. So if you don't answer yes to all 3 questions, then that means you don't make that decision or you don't make that action. But if you do answer yes to all 3 questions, then A-okay, you're good, you're smooth sailing, and you won't be wailing or hailing. You know what I mean? You've taken the time to evaluate, you know, to apply some type of discernment. So yeah, let's jump right in. So I must tell you, like, this is something I actually got from Joe Budden, and I still used to, you know, watch his podcast like habitually at this point in time. So this is something I got from his podcast like way early, like even before it changed to what it is now. This is like still with like Rory and Mal days, you know. Ooh, confirmation burp over there. But anyways, the first question is, does it need to be done or said? You know, I've adapted it slightly. So, you know, I've remixed it to apply in my life, and I'm sharing it to you the way I've remixed it. But yes, the first question, does it need to be done or said? So you needing to make an action, you know, okay, I'll think about me and changing my diet, you know. Do I need to change my diet? Does this diet change need to be done? And I will ask myself, yes or no. You know, this is not a matter of a maybe or sometimes, maybe later. Remember, this is a toolkit that helps you make a decision. So you need to decide yes or no. You know, I'm thinking about also at work, somebody did something wrong. Actually, I think maybe let's use an example that we can apply to all the questions, right? Because if I'm going to use a diet, I don't think it'll work so well. And I think with work, it kind of helps, especially also at home as well, because, you know, we're living day-to-day lives and not everybody might be wanting to change their diet. So let's say you're at work and somebody has, I don't know, stolen your pen. Okay, you're going to keep it very simple. So, and now you thinking about reporting this person. I mean, it could even be something worse, you know, somebody's actually, you know, jeopardized the success of a project. You know, they've not done their work. You know, you need to report some humiliation, some kind of violation, you know. So, I mean, it could get very serious, but as you see, I'm trying to keep it light. So you need to ask yourself, hey, I need to, there's this situation and I want to report it. So you thinking to yourself, does it need to be done or said? So again, if it's very serious, your answer will be yes, you do need to do it. But again, if it's not that serious, then it will be no. The second question you ask yourself is, does it need to be done or said right now? So the difference between this first question, the first question and this second question is, now you are gauging the time aspect. You know, sometimes you need to like strike in the nick of time, you know, or when strike when the iron is still hot, because there are times when, you know, when you address a situation late, it doesn't resonate, you know, it doesn't sting as much. But there are some times where, you know, it is addressed later and it actually still has the same effect. I'm thinking about, you know, cases that are, you know, related to women being treated unfairly. You know, I'm even thinking about like that Diddy case. You know, people came out years later, but they were still able to implicate, they were still able to sort it out and bring justice to it. But I'm saying that as an example. It's like not all situations give you time to respond or to address it. Because yes, you, with the first question, you are ultimately deciding if it needs to be addressed or not, even in the first place. And that will ultimately guide you as to whether you need to even go to question 2 or question 3. So if it does need to be addressed, now you are evaluating the time factor. It's like, can I do it today, tomorrow, next week? And ultimately, that will help you in better preparing for how you're going to address it. Because, if you're thinking about the time aspect of it as well, it's like, do you have enough time to present your case? And if you're thinking about something like in court, like this example I just thought of now, you need time to prepare your evidence. But at the first point, they would have actually, gone to court to raise the item to say, hey, here's something we want to address, and we're going to come back at a later date and present the evidence. So that's why they now request time. So sometimes we don't have the luxury of requesting time. We need to do these things ASAP. I'm thinking about a colleague of mine who had his phone stolen, unfortunately. And, to log a claim with your insurance, you need to do that like ASAP. If you get into a car accident, God forbid, you need to go and log that claim ASAP, So does it need to be done? Yes. Does it need to be done right now? Yes. Because you need to get your life back on track. I mean, I'm just thinking about how important our phones are right now. I'm realizing I'm jumping in between a lot of examples. I feel like that's how this message needed to come through. So again, please don't hate. Let's just participate. Spirit and I are collaborating. Oh my goodness. There's so many eights coming through right now. Guys, we're manifesting, we're creating. And again, this is us stepping into our power, right? So let's take back our strength. Let's call back our power. And that's what this toolkit is ultimately doing. So let's just recap the first two. Firstly, does it need to be done or said? Number 2, does it need to be done or said right now? And I think this last question is the kicker, and it's the punchline in this, because it really causes you to go even deeper into the evaluation. And this one is, does it need to be said or done by me? So, granted, here's a situation, you want to do something, you want to book a trip, you're booking your honeymoon. So does it need to be done or said? Yes, you want to go celebrate with your partner. You want to live your best life. Does it need to be done or said right now? I mean, we just got married, or we're planning to get married and you're planning ahead. So yes, you're planning for later. Cool, let's do that. And then now you're thinking to yourself, does it need to be said or done by me? And you're thinking, yes, I want to do this for my partner. It's us, and I'm going to surprise her, or I'm going to surprise him. I'm saying honeymoon right now, but you get what I'm saying. So in this particular example, you've answered yes to everything. It does need to be said. It does need to be said right now. And it does need to be said by you. So you A-okay. You know what I mean? You're good. You're Gucci. And you go ahead because you've answered yes to all 3. But, if I think back to that first example about like some type of injustice being reported at work, somebody was harassed. I saw somebody else being harassed, for example. Does this situation need to be addressed? Yes, it does. Does it need to be addressed right now? Yes, it does. But does it need to be addressed by me? Maybe, maybe not. And again, we're not in the world of maybe right now. We are being very clear and definitive. And in that case, I could easily say no, because you know what? That person could report it themselves. I could easily be getting into like somebody else's business, you know what I mean? But then again, I'm trading very lightly here. I think, again, it's just an example. You would know better for your situation, but you get what I'm trying to say. These questions are ultimately going to help you discern, or rather trigger the right thinking, or take your brain down the right path to ask the question of, what is your level of involvement? What is your attachment to this thing? And sometimes there are situations that are best addressed by us. Sometimes they are best addressed by other people. I'm thinking also in like a work situation where I'm leading a team of people. And if I'm to speak for like an injustice that was done to the team, maybe the team was treated unfairly, as the leader of the team, and I'm thinking about addressing this injustice. Yes, it needs to be addressed. Yes, it needs to be addressed right now. It does need to be addressed by me because I'm the leader, because of my position or my title. I am the best person to address it. But in some cases, if I was not the person of leadership or the person who is in like the power to make a decision, then I would rather consult or engage with the person who is in the right position to do the addressing, the speaking, the action. You know what I mean? So it just makes you aware that not all situations are for us to solve. We don't always have to take on the burdens of others or burden ourselves with things that are not actually within our domain, within our control. Even though it needs to be addressed, even though it needs to be addressed right now, there's a time factor or implication to it. But again, this is just questions. You will apply them in your own way. Again, this is just planting a seed. It's going to trigger some type of thinking. And as we know, all change starts in the mind. And because, you've also taken the time to think about whether it feels good or not, you would actually take some time to evaluate, come back to your senses and, not make an emotional decision, but make an informed decision. So let's just recap the questions again. So number 1, does it need to be done or said? Number 2, does it need to be done or said right now? And then number 3, does it need to be done or said by me? So if you answer yes to all 3 of those, good to go. Go for it. Yes, yes, yes. But if you answer no to even one of them, then it's not going to happen. I mean, some situations do need to be addressed right now. They do need to be addressed by you. But sometimes it doesn't. What am I saying right now? Does it need to be done or said? Maybe that part of it is no. Sometimes you have to give it time. Time just resolves things by itself. You don't want to jump the gun on certain things as well. I think, for example, let's say we're waiting for certain decisions to be made, and you might be jumping the gun trying to, eavesdrop or get in the way of God cooking up, spirit cooking up. Sometimes they are working on something and we just need to be silent sometimes, we need to be quiet. Something that could also be considered, which could be a no, is like, yes, it does need to be done or said. It does need to be said by you, but maybe not right now. You just need to wait, So I just hope this has triggered some kind of a thing within you, I hope it's planted the seed and it's just made you start to question oh, damn, in that situation, if only I waited. Or in that situation, if only I asked for more time. Or if in that situation, if only I asked my manager or I asked my son, my daughter, my friend to go and address that, it would have came out better because of who they are, because of how it would have been received from that person versus it being received from me. So look at this as an opportunity to also collaborate, an opportunity to be patient, and an opportunity to be studious, to learn something as well. From the patience, I think there's greater opportunity to move, or from the stillness, there's greater opportunity to move with more vigor, with more action, with more direction, with more purpose. So yeah, man, I think, let's leave the message right there. Thank you so much. And let me know how this resonated with you. Drop something in the comments. Let me know about any situation where you think this could best apply and why, because what we're doing here on Roots Holistic, we fly high, hey, no lie. You know this. And the numbers don't lie too, man. Check the statistics. Check the numbers on the board, gang. We only get better at the things that we measure. So as you try this again, it's a challenge, right, that I'm posing to you. Try it one time, see how you respond. We're not trying to react anymore. We're actually doing. Yoda gave us the juice, so we're responding. So anyways, just try this out. Let me know how it goes. Come back to this video maybe after some time. And let's see how we do. Thank you, tribe. Peace and love and oneness. Yay, yay.